to profess my love for the love of my life. So
I didn't ask myself out.
Well, first of all, I was trying to
open this door. She's gonna be a 300-pound white man with acne and asthma.
Me out, and I wasn't sure at first, but I decided.
Not knowing that we looking at each other, we never said anything to each other.
Nope.
Manifestation. Manifestation. I said she was gonna be my wife. Manifestation.
I mean, like, did I get in the right car?
You know, winking and stuff. You know, like, ooh, what's your name? And like that.
Wow, she really called me.
and I was like, oh, this is a little man. Like, wasn't so short compared to me.
Your date is, I got a bottle of liquor.
Right.
You know, we want to know who the new chick in town was.
It's like, dang, she bad. And so it was kind of like love at first sight when I met her.
Yeah, we met in college. We are in our sorority and fraternity, our brother and sisters. So we kind of met that way. In college.
Yeah. You want the story about meeting in college? Or that's enough? Because I think that I knew you from being an orientation leader and when you were a first year student. And I think we knew of each other for a while until we started dating. I think I was a senior and you were a junior or a senior, and I was a super senior.
Yeah, I think so.
I think I was a super senior and she was a senior. I did have to think back. So we started dating once our fraternity and sororities had a car wash. Then I asked her out, and that was it. She said yes.
Yeah, we kind of started chatting. We're gonna age ourselves. We kind of started chatting on Facebook Messenger, and we would just kind of chat every day. And then he eventually asked me out, and I wasn't sure at first, but I decided to take a chance. And yeah, the rest is history.
I remember that. I feel like you were out with your friends at Buffalo Wild Wings.
I was.
Yeah.
You remember way more.
I remember that because I remember thinking, man, I want some Buffalo Wild Wings. This girl didn't bring me back, so.
Well, initially met at a military ball. I was with my cousin at the time, and he was with his girlfriend at the time. And I just looked at him. It was like, he kind of cute. I was telling my friend, he was like, he kind of cute. Where he from? Is he from Atlanta? And she was like, I don't think so. I think that's Joe. He's from, that town. And I'm like, okay. I see you got a girlfriend.
Actually met in college. So we went to the University of Alabama, and we actually originally met through mutual friends. I vividly remember we had this kind of unique yeah, man, you weren't born yet. We had this unique late night dining concept in college. So we were both present there, and we just kind of met through friends.
All right, so we actually met at a Panera Bread at the college that we're going to. So we're both going to Georgia Southern University, and they opened up Panera Bread. So for me, Panera was my back home, not in Statesboro, but back home. That was my first job.
So let's see. I was working as a marketing coordinator for a college, and I was going to different high schools to recruit students. And the high school that I went to that particular day was Eddie's school. He taught high school then. And so I set up my marketing table, laid out all my little stuff, and then he brought his class down, and then he stayed there. He didn't leave. So
I said, whoa, what's your name?
I was like, will he go back to class, like with his kids? Like, what are you doing? So he stayed down there, just chit-chatted the whole time at the little college fair. And then when it was time to go, he said, you want me to help you set up? So I said, sure, you can help me set up. And then he was like, you want me to take it to the car? And I was like, I don't know. In my mind, I was thinking he's going to put me in the trunk and nobody going to see me anymore. Because I was like, I don't know this dude. But he took it to the trunk with me, helped me set it up. We exchanged cards, and after that, I might not need to go too far, but that's how we met. So we ended up being good friends in the beginning.
I was a gentleman.
Okay, so when we first met, we were in middle school. I know it's hard to believe because we are grown now, but we've been together since middle school, and that was like 8th grade. And we went all the way throughout high school, college, and adulthood together. So we've been together just that long. And my first impression of him, I don't know if it was as positive as his first impression of me, but my first impression of him was more so, you know, this guy who likes me is not on my caliber. He's not on my status, and should I give him a chance? He was cute, he really was, but chubby little kid. Somebody I knew wasn't talking to other girls in the school, and you know how it is as a young girl. You go for like the boys who are always in trouble, the ones who talk the most, and he wasn't that. I really didn't know him like that. I saw him in passing a few times, but that was it. But I am so glad I gave him a chance. Like, he turned out to be the best person ever. And I wouldn't change it for anything.
We both moved to Oklahoma from different places. She moved from Texas, and I moved from Washington. And so I was there first. And the first time I saw her, we were playing basketball at apartments. They had a basketball court, and we were up there playing basketball, and she came up there. And because it was a group of guys playing basketball, as with all guys, you know, we want to know who the new chick in town was. And so that's how we met at a basketball court. My mom went to ORU and Oral Roberts University, and her brother-in-law and sister moved up there to go to Oral Roberts University, and her mom moved up there as well. So,
yeah. I was 1 year removed from high school, and Christy was in 10th, 11th?
I was in 9th.
9th? No, 10th.
10th? Oh,
yeah, he was in 10th. She was in 10th grade, and I was like a year removed from high school, so it was a big age gap there. And it's funny, we went on that whole night just looking at each other, but not knowing that we looking at each other. We never said anything to each other.
Nope.
And then maybe like a whole year went by, almost a whole year went by, and we connected on Facebook. And she sent me a message, and we just started talking from there, and here we are.
It was history from there.
So we just initially didn't think too much about it. You know, in fact, she had just got done playing with a flag football game. You know, so she had, you know, her flag football gear on. So to me, I was like, oh, she's a tomboy. That's cool. You know, but we then became RAs together, or to break that down in simpler terms, resident advisors. And we were actually on the same team. So from that instance, we were actually able to become really good friends. I mean, basically best friends. And I'd say maybe a year, 2 years, maybe a year and a half after that, is when I decided to profess my love for the love of my life. So definitely met back in college.
Shock.
Yeah, she still don't believe it sometimes to this day, but you better believe it.
Oh yes, we met in school.
Yeah.
A trade school in McKinney, Texas. So that was in 2008.
2008, we met in school.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing culinary classes.
Oh Lord.
And she was new.
I know. I was into nursing assistant at the time.
Right.
Yeah. I had just barely moved to the United States from Africa, y'all. So,
So that's how I met her. I was like, oh, who's that tall woman?
Oh, Lord.
So we lived in the same apartments. We went to the same school, rode the same school bus. We went to the same church. And I mean, Tulsa is a small town, so everything we did, we hung out with. Every event that was going on, we were both there.
Yeah.
And my first impression of him was that he was just really shy and really quiet. And so we were actually we were friends for probably a year and a half, 2 years before we actually started boyfriend and girlfriend. So yeah.
It was so it was a new Panera. So like when a store is new, everybody kind of just goes up there and gets a job. Like they hire a bunch of people at one time. So me and my friend, we all went up there to get a job or whatever. And so got the job, and then he was the trainer for, well, initially I was going to do, I think, the day shift or something. So he was the trainer for the day shift. And so that's kind of how we connected initially.
Oh man, I knew. I was working at a grocery store, and she used to come in the store all the time, and I never said nothing to her. She always seeing me, and she wanted to speak to me. And she said, "Nah, he's just working too hard. I'm not gonna talk to him." I said, "Girl, you could have talked to me anytime you get ready." But I met her after Easter, and she was at the store. She came in there and got some bottled wine and stuff. And one of my homegirls said, "You should take a groceries." I said, "No, I'm good. She said, "No, you better go out there and get her. That's gonna be the one for you." Then I went out there, and then we started chit-chatting. We started talking about she loved to work out, and that's how me and her started talking, because she loved to work out and stuff, fitness, and that's all that happened.
Well, we met on a beautiful campus at Stedman College, August of 1995. I remember seeing her like it was yesterday. She was sitting on this the Omega Square, and she had this green Mobile Summer Jam T-shirt with some white tight shorts, and I remember saying like, "Dang, she bad." And so it was kind of like love at first sight when I met her, and then me being who I am, creeped up on her slowly.
That's not what happened.
What happened was she came to the school, like she said, that was true. And I brought my class down, just like you said. And I walked in, I said, "Who's that?" So I went over there and sat there, I talked to her, and we was chit-chatting. That part was true. But then, she started winking and stuff, like, "Ooh, what's your name?" And like that. And then I kind of like, "Hey, I'm Eddie, what you doing later? Whatever. I'm gonna help you to that car." I took her to the car and everything, closed the door. I was a nice guy. And then actually after that, was it every day or the weekend? Every Friday, I think I sent a thing of roses or flowers or whatever every Friday until I, really, got the little hook.
Oh my goodness. All right. We actually met in Hoover, Alabama. And at that time, I was between jobs. I was working at a pawn shop, and I would go to this restaurant, Jack's restaurant. And I walked in a couple of times, and I seen her. She turned around and she was looking. She had something standing out in the back pockets, and of course, I was like, "Wow!" I was like, "She's straight," And so I would go through the drive-through just to get a sweet tea, just to see her in the drive-through. And so that's when I began to catch her eye. And then I got her one day. She was in the lobby area, and I came through the lobby, and that's when I asked for a number, not knowing that she had another lineup of people standing there trying to get a number at the same time. So I kind of just fell in line, and I guess I came up with the better end of the stick.
Like she already told y'all when we met. So we met in like 8th grade. I think it was that summer or whatever. And I just told one of my cousins, like, "Hey, put me on corner." You know what I'm saying? You know how you do it when you're young. And he did it, but I guess she didn't want to be mean, so she gave him the number to give me. But
I gave you my number?
You gave my cousin the number to give me.
I didn't realize that.
It took me a while to call her, because y'all know how it was back in the day. You didn't have cell phones. You had to call the house. And then maybe the mom or the grandma, you know what I'm saying? Her great grandma would pick up. She would hang up on me. Then I had to keep calling back. You know what I'm saying? Just to talk the corner. But anyway, I thought she was digging me, but she was just being nice. And the reason I found out that she wasn't really digging me was because one of my older cousins asked her, like, "Hey, you and my cousin or you his girlfriend? And she was like, no. You know what I'm saying?
Denied it,
And my cousin came back to me and told me that, and I was like, what? Like she broke my heart. Like it was crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I still won because I got a knot, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, but y'all know how it is. It's
Manifestation.
about
Manifestation. I said she was gonna be my wife. Manifestation.
Turned out to be the best thing ever. I'm glad I gave him a chance.
I'm glad she did too.
I don't know. When I first saw Carrie, I just remember just thinking that was because his mom is actually like the mother of my sorority's chapter at our school. So I just remember thinking, oh, that's her son. And he was always with his friend D, and they're total opposites in height. So it was one really tall guy, one really short guy. So I just remember.
Oh man, D gonna flame me.
I just remember seeing them together all the time, and I really just kind of saw Carrie as just like this cool, really friendly guy, really down to earth guy, and I didn't really think of him like romantically for a long time, which is why it took me some thinking before I decided to go out with him. But yeah, just kind of thought he was super cool.
No, so okay, so he's right, but as we were in the parking lot, what you had asked me, like, you was like, do you want to like be my friend? And like, I was new to Louisiana, I didn't know anybody, so he was like the first person I ever like even talked to outside of coworkers. And so in my mind, I'm like, I was like,
what kind of friend you looking for?
What kind of friend are you looking for? Because like I was like, what is he? No, like this is not like that. No, but he was like, no, just a workout buddy. We can go to the gym, maybe to the movies, and then that's when I was like, okay, cool, yeah, definitely. Because I don't know anyone, I don't have any friends, so.
And I gave her my number. I said, I'm gonna give you my number, man. I said, look, if she don't text me and call me, she not feeling me.
And then, like, that night, I either called or texted him.
And I was shocked. I was like, wow, she really called me.
So, yeah, and here we are almost 5 years later.
He was outside of it was what we used to call it, the square. He got that part right. It was the square, but actually he was outside crying. I was like, why are you crying? And I don't know, someone hurt his feelings about someone back home. So I tried to nurture him.
A friend of mine said something negative about my girlfriend that I had back in Tampa. And it wasn't crying, it was more so
emotional.
I was enraged. And so Meat saw that, and she tried to be Captain Saber girl. And she was like, oh, I feel that you're a real man. If you had a woman like me, we shot a shot, and then here we are.
Yeah. We met at Jack's, and also the reason why I didn't really say nothing to him because my friends was looking at him. So I was like, go ahead and talk to him, But I didn't even know he was looking at me, so But yeah, that's how it went.
Man, whatever. She just threw me off like that. She was trying to get me to the wolves. That was so sad. But yeah, that's how we met though.
So we met on the dating app called Bumble. Bumble, the woman approaches the guy first. So he swiped right on me, and then I swiped right second, and then it was like, boom, you guys are a match. Yep. And then I connected with him, and I messaged him and said, hey, Marcus, how are you doing today? And then you said,
oh, yeah. Just told us, like, I'm doing better now that we finally connected.
Mm-hmm. And I said, that's cute. So we just kept talking from there. And then 3-4 days after that, we met in person. And it was during COVID as well. So I was kind of nervous, but he made me feel comfortable.
Yeah, speaking of nervous, I was so sure she was going to be a catfish. Because she was too nice, she was too polite and everything. I was like, she gonna turn up. I'm gonna open this door. She's gonna be a 300-pound white man with acne and asthma. But
I'm not.
She's not. She's not.
No.
So she's exactly who she said she was.
Yes. Thank you.
Go on.
And Stacy was a tough worker. And by tough, I mean not the best. Ain't. My fondest memory is Stacy with this mop bucket mopping, and I just remember asking her, "Hey, what are you doing exactly?" Because there was so much water on the floor, guys. Like, I swear to God, there was so much water on the floor. You would have thought that I don't know, something had flooded and it was leaking.
I was tired. I was gonna get it all up though.
Eventually, I don't know why you put that much down there.
Because I didn't feel like wringing it out. Yeah, and then he asked for my number.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I gave it to you initially.
I think I gave you my number.
Yeah, I want to give it to you. So then you gave me your number.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. And then like weeks went by, and then he showed up, and he was like, "You never called me." And I was like, oh yeah, about that. And I don't remember, but my friend that worked there as well, I remember she was like, "Oh yeah, he seems like a cool guy, blah, blah, blah. You should reach out to him and talk to him or whatever." And so eventually I text him, and the rest is history.
What was your first impression?
All right. So yes, my first impression is, I think he was a nice guy. So
you think I was a good nice?
I had to think, right?
Right.
So yeah, I just thought he was a nice guy. He was sweet. He was really friendly, to be honest with you. When we started talking as just friends in school. Yeah, but then later on, I realized there's a lot of, good things about this man as time went by. So, but first impression was, it's a nice guy.
He was a nice guy.
What was your first impression about me?
Really nice guy. My first impression was because her height. She was very tall. Obviously, she was very beautiful.
Aww.
At the time, very beautiful. And that was very attractive for her and all that. So, and her accent, she had a very particular accent and all that. So every time I approached her, started talking, and we started talking to each other like, "Hi, mon amour."
Oh Lord, you're really gonna bring that up?
We met on this lovely platform called MySpace many, many years ago. Mm-hmm. Okay. But to skip forward, we met in person on what was it, 3rd Avenue?
Yes.
Watson had to come get me from the train station.
Yeah, we reconnected on Facebook after we lost contact on MySpace many, many years ago. However, before we reconnected on Facebook, Leah was performing in a club in Jersey. I didn't recognize him at that time, but he recognized me.
Oh, not you ain't recognized.
However, I happened to leave right after his performance, and he was coming to say hi to me, and I had left. So we reconnected back on Facebook. And
then after that, I wound up quitting my job and moving to New York to live with Wonston, because our vibe on the phone was just magical.
Yeah.
And when he came to get me from the train station, I didn't realize how short my husband was. And I was like, oh, this is a little man. Like, Wonston's so short compared to me.
Our first date, I think, was, correct me if I'm wrong, babe, because we've been together for so long, but I think our very first unofficial date was like at a carnival. We were like 13. I was 13. He was 14. And it was, everything that you would imagine a teenage date would be. Like, it was just full of rides, and he was trying to impress me. He, what did you do? I think you played this basketball game. You were trying to win me a stuffed animal. And y'all, I don't know where he got his money from, but he went overboard.
I spent like $160.
You did. It was 180, I thought.
Yeah. Trying to win a bear.
Trying to win the bear. He didn't have any basketball skills, but he was like, I'm gonna get her this bear. This is the biggest bear out here, so I gotta get it for her. And he didn't get the bear.
Nah, I didn't.
First date.
I think we went to the movies.
Yeah, we went to the movies. We saw The Hill Have Eyes. I don't know which one it was. I think they had the different ones out.
Yeah, I think it might have was the second one.
Second one.
But yeah, we just went to see a movie. First date, just a movie.
I had butterflies.
Yeah.
In my
She was nervous for sure. She was nervous for sure.
You know, as friends, but as far as official dates, so I actually didn't know anything about this. So my mom said, "Let's go." We went to his house or his apartment, and I'm like, "What are we doing?" I was so scared. I didn't know what we're doing. I'm like, why are we knocking on this door? So we went in, sat down, and she was talking with his mom for a little bit. And next thing I know, here he comes, and we're leaving. I'm like, what is this? So my mom actually planned our first date, and we went to the movies, and we saw Apollo 13.
Oh yeah. Where did we went to what's the place that has you know that big chain restaurant that has the skillet, like the skillet meals with the cheese and stuff.
TGI Fridays?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I can go for one of those now. We should relive that.
Yeah, I haven't been there in
the
forever.
years. I think that's all I could afford at the time.
Yeah, we went to, which is a step up from where you like originally wanted to take me.
Old Charlie's. If Old Charlie's want to sponsor this portion of the video, this was one of my favorite places.
Yeah, that was probably another reason why I was like, I don't know if I want to go out with him, because he was like, oh yeah, let's go to O'Charlie's, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with O'Charlie's, but it is like, it's kind of like on the level of like maybe like Applebee's, maybe a little bit less.
We go back to USM, go back to Hattiesburg. We're going to go to Old Charlie's.
That probably doesn't even exist anymore.
Oh, it does. I went by there.
Best friend tells you, you want, they like you. So I'm like, what? Like, you don't like me. we just cool. Like, that's it. That's all. So that went on for maybe 2 months or 3 months or so. Oh, probably more than that.
I'd say maybe like 4 months, maybe 4
months.
Like
and then
4 months.
One day he was like, hey, look, I really like you. I'm serious. Let me take you out on one date. And if it doesn't work, we'll stay best friends. If it works, then we'll see where it goes.
College days, like you kind of hung out. So maybe you had a mutual friend and, you guys met up at that place, or I don't know, you made up a reason to go to the library and study, like, so something like that. Or you just, kicked it at the house. I think that if I had to think back, it would have been like one of those instances in terms of like a.
Yeah, because I think my friend that worked at Panera with us, I think we all just came over to your place or whatever for the first initial meeting.
Yeah.
I guess so. I guess you can call it a date, but
yeah.
no, it was really like a hangout.
Broke college kids.
Right, you can't date. So
Your
date is, I got a bottle of liquor.
Right. Want to Netflix and chill? Sure.
Have we ever had a first date?
It's almost like we had a date, but we had a date in the calf, like the calf of
yeah, men.
Like
our relationship is different because we never had the traditional boyfriend girlfriend dating. So we never technically went on a date. We did dating activities. Can we even say that?
I couldn't even remember the first date. What was the first date?
From what I remember.
Oh God in heaven, help us, Lord.
Oh, I know. I was getting off work one day, and I think you was picking me up, right?
I am.
Okay. And he was like, "We gonna go and eat." So I'm thinking we was gonna go to a restaurant. I was like, okay, well, let me go to the house because I was going back to his apartment and get dressed, and then we could go. But when we got back to the house, he had dinner cooked at his house.
Well, I would say the actual date was me going to see you perform.
Okay, I slayed that night, honey. You better work, Leo.
So
okay.
I left from church that particular day. This was, I think, January 10th.
Back up for a second. So what happened was I had to perform in downtown Manhattan, and Watson had to bring me my change of shirt. But I think you were going to church that day.
Yes.
And I didn't really know how to get to the village, so like I was asking questions like, okay, what stop do I get off? Because I don't want to go downtown. So he had to guide me to get to downtown, and then my promoter had seen me, and that's how we got connected. And then Watson came later to watch the show and bring me my change of clothes.
Our first date was the first day we met. And because of COVID, we actually stayed at his place where we're at now. And we went to, where did we go get smoothies? Went to Smoothie King because he's a personal trainer and I had just started my health journey. So we went to Smoothie King, and then we came back and we played games, and he played me his jazz album. He has a jazz album.
That wasn't the first night.
Yes, it was.
It was not.
Yes, it was,
Lord
Marcus.
Jesus. Okay.
Man, the first day.
Go ahead and say what you actually did on that first day.
My first day was trying too many times. It worked out for me. I asked her, hey, let's go hang out, let's go out. She was always turning me down because she was so busy. Busy in school, taking care of her school stuff, and
I was going to college
and things like that and all that. So I guess I decided one time, I said, hey, if you don't go out with me, I'm gonna go to your house. She was living with her parents back in the day. So I'm gonna knock on the door and say, hey, you want to go out with me? I don't care if you're there, your mom was there. But I mean, that's how she kind of panicked a little bit.
I told him, don't you dare do that. I live with African parents. There is no way on earth you're going to walk up to the house and ask my parents if you could take me out on a date. You cannot do that. That's going to be a lot of trouble. So that is how I told him, you know what? Don't worry.
Give me a chance.
I'll go out with you, okay? Just come at this time, and stuff like that. Come pick me up and I'll go out on a date with you. So to me, it was more of like, let me just do this one-time thing and get this over with, because this guy will not just get off me. He asked me to be his girlfriend back in school, and that was 2 years ago, and I said no. So I was like, he didn't give up. He just kept, going and going. So I decided that this night, just do this one-time thing and get it over with, okay? So that's how he got me to go out on a date with him on the first place.
The first date? Was it the bowling alley? Okay, so our first date was literally the same day that he asked me to be his girlfriend, which was crazy. So yeah, we went bowling with his friends. They were another couple, and it was fun times. Like, we had a good time, and then it was literally like midnight into May 20th.
Yep.
And first I feel like, I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I don't know. So it was midnight, May 20th. And then literally in the car, he asked me to be his lady. And so our first date turned into him asking me to be his girlfriend. So it was kind of special.
What was the first date? See, you spend all your time and your hard-earned work, and you just do this stuff for women. This is what you get.
You asking other questions.
But I asked her, but I took her to a Boys to Men concert. I think it was Boys to Men. We sat on the lawn at the concert's first date. So it was fun. But yeah, I really hooked her up with by being just chivalrous. That's that educational word I got from when I went to Prairie View. Chivalrous to her, and what guys don't do nowadays. Just being nice and being.
Yeah. So that's the actual day. I think it was January 10th of 2015.
Well, that's when we made it official.
14, yeah, 14. So that's when we had actually made it official. So I call it a date.
Okay. Well, I remember us going to a nice restaurant and having a nice dinner and conversating, because I think Watson, at the time, was like impressed that I was spending money or something. I don't know. His reaction to the dinner was just like very surprising. And I was like, doesn't everybody go out and eat? You know what I mean? But back then I had money, child. Okay.
Let me tell y'all the truth. So
that's the truth.
It wasn't. That was not the first night.
Okay, well, what night was it?
Because remember the first night when we played the games about how to get to know each other, and I bet you couldn't get the next question right, and since you got it wrong, I introduced you to. You had to say what's up to Vic and Mary.
That was the same night.
That was not.
I was over here till 2 a.m., guys.
She was, but
okay, it
wasn't my jazz album.
It was, but
okay. Look, it was so good. She thought it was the same night.
Well, we played games and get to know you games, and I did listen to his jazz album. We'll have to talk about it later off script, but yeah.
But yeah, we went to TGI Fridays. We were in college then, so that was I think that was both of our favorite restaurant at the time. So we went there, and I think we went to a movie too, didn't we?
I think so. Probably.
So
where we met at, it's not a lot to do. It's a college town
or
a college/retirement town. So it's not a lot of big stuff there.
We went to this beautiful restaurant, and we were not even hungry. We got our drinks.
Just drinking, talking.
He was so funny.
funny, joking around, just laugh.
So making me laugh. And we were sitting in the booth. So he was sitting opposite of me. And then at some point, he sneaked, came and sat right next to me. And he told me, for all time's sake, and it's for 2 years, I've been trying to go on a date with you, and you keep turning me down. You owe me a kiss. Just a little one, a little itty bitty kiss. And I said, okay, a little itty bitty kiss. And that's how it all started.
Right.
But we just went to go see a movie and then just kind of chilled and talked after that. And then and it was just kind of like a low key date, nothing too serious.
Yeah, nothing too serious. We went to I think it was Applebee's.
Yeah, we went to
Tuesday.
Applebee's. Yeah, we went to Applebee's to eat.
And I was nervous to eat in front of him. I was trying to eat cute. So. But now, shoot, you gonna shame my game.
Now she pig out.
No, I guess you would say we had college. I don't know, the typical things you do it while
in college. We never went on a date.
We would go on walks.
Our dates was
late night
cruises
later
on in life, but we technically never went on a date. We wasn't boyfriend girlfriend. It was a period of separation. She got pregnant with Amira. She withdrew from school. When she came back, I proposed to her. So we were never really boyfriend and girlfriend. Like when she came back into my life, I got engaged to her. We moved in together. And then we got married like the next year.
And I'm gonna tell them about our first date as like grown. You know what I'm saying? That was when we were young. But I'm gonna give y'all this story right here. Like, if I can remember, like our first, I'm gonna say official date was when we were like, I think I had just started working at a Frito-Lay. That's like a potato chip plant, if you don't know. Quana was still in college or whatever. I was in college too, but I've always hustled to try to basically make both of our lives, you know what I'm saying, just a good life, even when we were 18, 19. But so we went to the Western, right? So I'm 18, but I'm thinking like, man, I'm finna rent this car, man. I'm finna take my baby to the Western. We finna show out. So Quana had, what kind of car? You had a Camry or something?
No, I had the what was that old car? It was an Acura.
Yeah, it was an Acura, but it ain't had no business going to Atlanta.
Oh yeah,
it was real. It had no business. So they wouldn't let me rent the car because I was like 18, so I couldn't rent what I wanted.
25, I believe, because we called my mom after her.
When nobody rent the car for us, y'all, we like, man, we trying to go up to the Western. You know what I'm saying? I'm finna show my baby out where it turn around. You know what I'm saying? We finna go here where you gonna turn around. You gonna see Atlanta.
There's
you know
let me tell y'all what he's referring to. At the top of the Western, this particular Western, there's a restaurant called the Sundial. It sits at the very top. And I think it's like the 200th floor.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's high up in there. But anyway, that's what he's referring to. There's a restaurant that spins around.
Yeah, and I want to just check it out. You know what I'm saying? I'm 18. You know, I want to do that. So anyway, I couldn't rent a car, man. We end up having to drive her old car to the Western. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking, we got it valeted. Hey, you would have thought we was in a Benz or something. Like, we got it valeted and everything. And then when it was time to go to the Sundial, I started looking at the prices. I was like, hey, I don't think we're gonna be able to do this right here, bro. Cause the room was about 300. I'm like, I'm about to spunk that. You know what I'm saying? So we ended up having to go to like a little steakhouse down the road, but it was still like everything.
It was nice though,
It was
babe.
nice. It was everything.
That was like the best Valentine's Day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So he took me to a hibachi restaurant.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's
you
where
know,
we
back
went.
then I thought I was doing something. You know, we got a dinner and a show. You know what I'm saying?
We went college, so that was
they light the
expensive.
onions on fire. You can see, you know. Hey, so I'm like, hey, let's go to, you know, I think the place is called Kobe's.
Yeah,
Kobe's Japanese
yeah, it was
Steakhouse.
called Kobe's.
Let's go to Kobe's.
And so we went there, and then we were supposed to go to the movies, but did the showing get booked out or something? So we ended up doing a red box.
Oh, we did a red box.
I think so.
Gotcha. I forgot that part.
Yeah, and then that was the end of the date.
Yeah. So I did. We had dinner, and our first official outing was we went to the railroad park and kind of walked around the park and talked, sat down and talked and so forth and so forth, and just still kind of getting a feel of her because at the same time, I think she was in between some type of relationship she had been dealing with, but anyway, that's for the birds. That's going on about his business now. So, but I don't think she was in one. She was coming out of one or whatever that was. And so And plus I was too. I had just came out of one. So it was, it was kind of his timing, but at the same time trying to keep from making it seem like it was just a rebound, if that makes sense.
I wrote a note to her.
Because it was 1995.
Wrote a note, right? I wrote a note to her asking her to be my girlfriend on June the 8th. And I was able to give it to you. Did you come over and get it?
I got it from your job. So when I went to he worked at McDonald's, and he gave me a note, June 8th. Yeah. And of course, because, back then we didn't have cell phones and texting and all that stuff. So he, when we saw each other is when we would exchange notes.
And when Watson came, and I had somebody else show up to the show, and I guess they thought I was single at the time or whatever. They wanted to surprise me or whatever. This is why it's not good for people to show up unannounced. Okay. So when the people came, they seen Watson. They were asking, I think somebody had asked you, who were you? Or Watson asked, where was I? Because he had the shirt that he had to bring me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, we was like, we're boyfriend and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think we had kind of like,
but I think when we had dinner is when we got to know each other more.
Mm.
So when I came up here to spend the evening with Watson, because my show was the next day, he had cooked dinner and we got to know each other like that.
Yes, I think we was claiming each other, but we didn't really made it official
until like the next day after the show.
After
yeah.
the show.
So we spent 2 days before, 2 or 3 days before we had said we were boyfriend.
I didn't ask myself out.
Well, first of all, I was trying to date you a long time ago, but you always turn me down.
Oh, Lord.
So
he's blaming me.
So we started knowing each other better, things like that. We're hanging out more often. We're just going out often.
As friends
in the beginning, things like that. She was introducing me with her family little by little, things like that, going out with friends and all that.
So who asked who first?
I asked first.
There you go.
I asked first. You go out with me.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to her and a couple other ladies on Bumble, and come to find out, her sister is best friends with the other woman I was talking to. So what happened, they started talking, and I was completely honest with both of them. I wasn't trying to act like I was just talking to each one of them. So when they found out, they exchanged notes. And what made me know that she was the one, Kay actually came to me and said, hey, you're actually talking to somebody I know. Mm-hmm. What's going on? And she wasn't accusatory. She didn't attack me. She asked me the question, and she actually listened to my answer. And when it made sense to her and it lined up with what everything else the other woman told her, she said, okay, that makes sense. And
we went on that date, and I don't remember exactly the exact verbiage that I used.
Well, I don't think we didn't determine that we were going to be in a couple that day.
Yeah.
Remember, we went to go visit your dad.
That's right, because my dad had his own store back then, so we went actually to Birmingham to visit my dad, and I introduced her to my dad. I don't know if my mom was there or not.
Nah, she wasn't there.
And I believe he asked me, like, oh, is this your girlfriend? And, we just kind of like, you kind of like just brush it off, but I remember when we got back in the car to head back to school, so I said, so just to kind of elaborate more with my dad, so what are we doing?
Now catch what I'm about to say. I said in the beginning we was together, but I think we became a couple not after we got married, but after both of us really bonded spiritually.
Yeah.
Because see, at that point then it's easy to be together, and also by law and a piece of paper you can be married. But once we became connected spiritually, began to pray together, began to realize where we were spiritually together, I think that's when we really bonded as a couple.
Yeah.
It took a while before we were actually like officially a couple, because again, we were in college, so we were both kind of just like doing our own thing and kind of like living our single life. And it was kind of like, oh yeah, we just kind of hang out on the side when we feel like it.
Yeah.
So it was probably like
a year or so before we actually like, okay, let's like make it official type of thing. So.
But once I started talking to him, like I think he called the phone like a week after I had I didn't even know I gave him the number, but he called the phone like a week later and we chatted and I was like, oh, it's not bad conversation. He's really pretty cool. Yeah. And I continued dating.
Oh yeah, for sure.
My ex.
She took me through the. Hey, I was in the 8th grade, but hey, I done been through more than a 40-year-old man.
It's kind of interesting how we started talking because, you know, we really started connecting through Facebook. We would send messages back and forth through Facebook, and then I think maybe like a week or 2 weeks went by, and then she gave me a phone number, and we started talking over the phone. I don't remember. It feels like it's been so long that it just became a thing. Like we just started talking, but
yeah.
I think we both kind of expressed our feelings one day.
We kind of like just ease into it. Like.
Yeah, we kind of felt like we needed to take the next step, and after we both expressed our feelings, then that's when we knew that we were together.
Moved back. She relocated back to her smaller town in Alabama called Leroy, Alabama. When she came back with Mira was probably about 1 or 2 months old, and I told all our friends, like shout out to Germany in April, that if she come back to Tuscaloosa, because she was young, we were both 18. She didn't know we was ready to be parents, so she withdrew from school, and then she ended up moving back to where we went to school at, which is Tuscaloosa. So I said when she come back here, I can get engaged to her. And then it was at a non-Greek fraternity that I was a part of. It was a probate show, and I proposed to her in front of everybody. Of course, she said yes, and that was it. Like,
I continued to talk to him on the phone, but one night, my baby left a voice message, and I'm gonna tell y'all exactly what the message said. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you're gonna remember, but he said something about hearing and learning that I was still talking to the person. And he said he wasn't upset with me. He was like, I really want to be with you though, and I don't want to lose you. So whatever it is, whenever you're ready to come back to me, I'm here. He was like, if you like it, I love it. And what I'm trying to say, I love you, girl. And when he said, I love you, I was like, wait, he loves me? Like I had never heard it before. Even the boy that I was talking to, you know, I told you it wasn't anything real. Yeah. So because he hadn't told me, the only people I heard that from was family. I was like, maybe I should give this person a chance then. And that was when I told him, like, yeah, I'm ready to be official. I want to be your girlfriend. And at that point, I really didn't care what other people were going to say. I mean, I know that I was like the it girl. Like, it girl, I mean, like, popular in school. She was that. And like I told you, I didn't really know him, so I'm not saying you weren't popular.
I wasn't, man. I was lame. I ain't
you weren't lame, but
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe so. It all started. We went to the couple part really bounced off when we went to New Orleans for a Essence Festival. Us and another couple, we went to Essence Festival.
And I was scared to go with him because I didn't know him like that. So I was thinking again, he was going to throw me in the river somewhere because I was like, I'm going out of town with this dude. I don't even know. We weren't even a couple then. You know, I was like, but it was his college friend and his wife. And so I was like, okay.
Y'all really going back in the memory banks here. I think after the Buffalo Wild Wings thing, we just started dating. You got a different story?
Yeah. It just depends on how in depth you want to go.
I might need to remember the story.
He may not want me to bring it up, y'all. No. So we just kind of were like kind of casually dating, or what we call talking back in the day, and we just did that for a while, and then eventually I was like, are we gonna like go together or what?
So I guess I initiated, the conversation of us being a couple. But I would say just me asking, what are we doing? So I I didn't necessarily ask like, will you be my girlfriend? I just asked like, what are we doing? Because we had been going on dates, spending a lot of time with each other, you know, so just wanting to establish at that moment what we wanted to do moving forward.
And that was what, a matter of like 2 weeks after the first date or something
2
like
weeks,
that.
yeah.
But yeah, it was real short. It was quick.
Any woman who can actually listen for the purpose of understanding instead of listening just to have a response, that's the one for me.
Yeah.
So we watched the photograph,
Mm-hmm.
and after we watched the photograph, I told her I wanted to make it official.
Yes, and she was actually, I call her my sister. She's my sister's best friend, but I call her my sister too. So we're really close. And the fact that Marcus said the same thing that she said, even more than she said, I was like, oh, he's honest. Like, I loved it. So that's how I knew. I was like, yeah, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
You're right. So they was helpful.
To the concert, well, to New Orleans Essence Festival. And then I guess when we all kicked off, really got, you know, we're like, oh, well, this might work, you know. And when we went to the concert, we had to have time to spend together and, you know, talk to each other, learn each other. And then that's when, you know, we really became more of a couple in New Orleans. So it was pretty fun. Got to walk there, you know, going to see all the sights and also going to the concerts and stuff. You know,
yeah, it was fun. I was like, oh, I like him. He's cool.
yeah, he's a good guy. He's so awesome.
He was cool. But that's pretty much how we became a couple then.
We note on June 8th. And we wrote notes all the time, and we would like exchange them at church. But this time the note said, and every time he gave me a note, like when I left and I would pull over somewhere so I would read it immediately because I didn't want to wait till I got home. And yeah, he asked me, will you be my girl or will you go with me?
Yeah.
And you know, and had the 2 boxes, yes or no. And I'm mad at him because when we moved, I had saved all of our notes that we've always had. I had them in the bag, and when we moved, he threw all that away. But anyway, but yeah, it was a note, and then so I gave him the note back on June 8th. So we celebrate. I'm sorry, June 9th. So that's the day that we celebrate as our anniversary.
And every year on June 8th, I always ask her out. And she makes me wait every year to June 9th for her answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always interesting when feelings get involved, especially when you tell yourself that feelings won't get involved, which we all have done. And then you start getting feelings, and
then at that time as well, I was transferring to another school, and so it was kind of like a make or break moment. Like, are we going to be together or not? Because if not, like that's it. So either we're doing the long distance thing or just cut it off and let it go. So
goodbye forever. Ta-ta.
So see what we decided.
And see what people don't realize either. We come from 2 different religions, backgrounds. I grew up Muslim, so it was different, way different for me.
Once she connected, and not on my terms, believe me, it wasn't on my terms. It was just out of the blue. She came to me, you know, or she, you know, found a connection with the Lord in her own way.
Yeah.
And converted to Christianity. And she seen things a whole lot different. And I'm not knocking Muslim. I'm not knocking any other religion. But there's only one God. And I'm gonna leave it right there before I get started.
There was no typical dating. We knew there was something special about us. From 95 through time Mira was born in 98, we saw each other often. But she was seeing people, I was seeing people. But we always had this special connection. Like we knew that we would be together. And then when Mira was born, it kind of concrete. It was like God said, you know what? Here you go. Make it happen. And we did. And we've been together ever since. We haven't spent more than 3 or 4 months apart since 1995.
And so we decided, okay, yeah, we would. And we were like, what are we gonna make our first anniversary? Like, when did we like start dating? So I think we like thought back to whenever we first started talking. We're like, okay, that'll be our first anniversary, because I think the day that we actually decided we were gonna be a couple was like your anniversary with your ex or something like that.
Really? That's trash.
You were like, nah, that can't be that day.
I'm about to scroll back to my Facebook messages.
So we
14 years ago.
Yeah, so we just decided we would make our anniversary day the day that we first like. I think it must have been like the Buffalo Wild Wings night or something like that.
Do you remember what that day is?
Yeah, I remember every year. It was June 20th.
Oh.
Which is kind of how we ended up with our wedding anniversary in June.
I thought you just picked that. I did. I thought you just wanted a summer date.
Well, that too. I did.
The first day we went to high school, he showed up with a watch. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is official.
Yeah.
My boy is putting jewelry on me. He's buying me stuff.
Man,
it's official. We're together."
Man, I had to beg my mama to get that watch too. I had to beg her. I was like, "Please get this watch. I'm trying to get her. Buy the watch." Yeah, man.
I'm glad she bought it.
Yeah, so that's really exactly what happened. Like what she said. That's basically how we became a couple. Though.